Today is our first day of lobbying after a discussion of the policy committee with Linda LaRouche last night, where we discussed how to sharpen it up and what are the obstacles to getting Glass-Steagall actually passed. Yesterday we had a record number of meetings, probably over 30 meetings, mostly in the House and Senate side, on getting co-sponsors on board on Glass-Steagall. But the question is, where do you get the killer instinct that this has to be done now? And it's clear what we're up against is Wall Street, and they made it explicit when J.P. Morgan showed up in Delaware to argue that the Delaware State Senate should not even pass a memorial resolution, which doesn't even have binding power for Glass-Steagall. It's a total war. This system is coming down most likely in the fall, and what J.P. Morgan Chase, the BIS, the British Empire, Obama's puppets want is a Hitlerian, genocidal austerity policy where they lower the life expectancy. So it would be foolish to think that we're going to just walk into Congress and have a few polite conversations and get people on board. And now what's very, very clear is that we have, one, a problem of congressmen who are owned by Wall Street, largely on the Financial Services Committee, who we are going to be identifying and where their money comes from. But also, one of the other ways that congressmen are managed is by their aides. You could call it congressional aides, which seems to be a terminal disease, and it will kill about 6 billion people if we don't address it. So Jessica has been on a number of these meetings, and I wanted to ask her to share her thoughts.
Okay. Yes, hi. Jessica White, teacher, member of the UFT, delegate to the UFT, and I was with the delegation yesterday. Yesterday was a little bit more fun than today, but today, under the policy, we're following more of the policy ideas of the new policymakers with LaRouche. We're finding that we're smoking out these Congress people who are being managed by their staff members. We get comments that are kind of unbelievable, like, well, you know, my constituents are the Wall Street people because they put me through college. Or my constituents, and then you go to a map of your district, who should be human beings in that district, but they turn out to be, well, they're Wall Street people. And so we're finding out that these ideas are being perpetrated and furthered by the staff members, these so-called legislative aides and chiefs of staff, things like that, that are not even giving this information to the congressperson or tainting the information if they do give it to them at all. And so now we have to strategize, and I'm glad to say that the policymakers are recognizing this. We have to strategize how to get around this part of our situation. And it's not all bleak, though. We did have a very good meeting where we found the staff member that did listen to us was very moved by what we had to say. She understood a lot of the input. We had one of our members is a college student that has 3 people in college in his family, and the interest rates on these college loans are outrageous. And he spoke, and she understood that. She has family members in Brooklyn who understood very well that the closing of the hospitals like Downstate and Interfaith are going to kill people. She understood that. She looked at our information. She said that she would talk to the congressperson and definitely have a conversation that would be meaningful with her. And we plan to get back to her, and she definitely plans to get back to us. So like I said, we need to break through these types of barriers and make sure that our Congress people understand who their constituents are, and that the United States citizens overall are their constituents, not just the amount of people who are in their district. And that's basically what we're about, and that's what we have to do in order to get this passed right now. Thank you.
I think it's absolutely unconscionable that the Glass-Steagall Act wasn't passed long ago, and that in itself is frightening. This is a corrupt kind of capitalism that has no social conscience. and that's more or less the reason why we're in this mess. How do we raise people's consciousness levels? I frankly don't know, but I can say, as a sort of bystander, participant, part-time participant in this process, that it's absolutely appalling, and the American people have to wake up. They have to wake up real fast, because they're going to get a rude awakening later on. Thank you.
I'll add to what's already been said. One of the legislative aides really does believe that the world is square, does believe that it is Wall Street that runs the world, and that's how the common man gets his job, and was horrified to think that in the process of passing Glass-Steagall, it was possible that Wall Street might suffer irreparable damage and not be able to play with their hedge funds and their derivatives. He somehow links the derivatives and hedge funds with the productivity of America. And we try to bring this to his attention, but the dialogue has only just begun with that office. Thank you.
Very good.
Well, I think that sums up when the aide said that Wall Street had paid his college education as to where their loyalties lie.
Well, I think this last meeting that we had that Jane described here, where the guy thinks that the productivity of the nation comes from Wall Street. What he's talking about, the line that he put out was that, how can we do Glass-Steagall when leaving the New York State financial services industry intact? So how can we do Glass-Steagall without doing Glass-Steagall? And I think we really hit it strong at the end when it put it, because he said, well, we think that the financial services community, needs to continue to survive and continue to flourish, right? That's where all of our New York State budget comes from. And Jessica said to him, well, who do you mean by we? Who is we? Because we should be your constituents. It should be the human race. How about Americans who are currently starving in absolutely genocidal conditions across the country? And anyway, he heard the truth. That much is clear. So we're not going to quit. That much.